Hey everyone, so I'm taking a break from the spooktacular October dark movies special month. Why? Because I hate myself and my rules. I don't care about consistency. Kind of like the DCEU. Fuck you. So I just saw Gemini Man and I didn't hate it like I thought I would. Now I've been somewhat interested in this movie since the first trailer dropped, but I wasn't really expecting it to be anything amazing. We've seen these kind of technical achievements in the past. The only real weakness behind this movie is that CGI has reached a point where we aren't really that impressed. I think the only thing that draws people to this concept is because Will Smith is in it. Now, admittedly, I actually like Will Smith quite a lot, so I do have a slight bias towards this film. I mean, I grew up with the guy, so I can't really help but love him dearly. Unsurprisingly, the acting in this movie is definitely the best part. Everyone does a surprisingly great job with what's been given to them. I was expecting half-assed performances where clearly no one gave a shit, but number one babe, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Benedict Wu, Clive Owen, and the Fresh Prince himself really give it their all. The visual effects in this film are pretty fantastic. I was convinced by the de-aging almost completely. You can tell Will Smith had a lot of fun with this little dual role of his. I thought the cinematography was nothing special, but decent to say the least. For some reason, the camera is really tight during the action sequences. We barely get to see anything because it's so focused on one thing. Like, there'll be a massive shootout, just but only one thing at a time is going on at all. Old Boy 2013, anybody? The soundtrack was nothing great, but it was fine, I guess. I actually really like Ang Lee. There are some great aspects to his polarizing Hulk movie. Life of Pi was pretty fantastic, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is a masterpiece. One thing I've heard a lot about this movie is how it's filmed in 120 frames per second. I don't really care that much, and I was more focused on the writing, directing, and acting. I mean, yeah, it was a little bit distracting thinking about it, but it was nothing unbearable. Like, I understand people find that stuff super distracting, but I'm a meat man. You know, I go for the meat. I don't care about that little thin layer on top, that thin little layer. Unless, of course, it's a spicy Italian sausage, you know, and it's got that weird little bit of extra skin on it that you have to, like, tear through. Disgusting. I wouldn't say this movie is awful, but it is probably up there with my least favourites of the year. I haven't seen movies like Ma or Happy Death Day to You, whenever the fuck that came out. It might have been last year, I don't even know. Captain Marvel. This film was in development hell for years. At one point, Mel Gibson was attached, then Clint Eastwood, then it was rewritten a dozen of times. Then it ends up with this awesome director and these screenwriters, David Benioff, Billy Ray, and Darren Lemke, who are so different in writing style, just on these really far edges of the spectrum, like completely away from each other. Lemke does this children's stuff, like this cutesy animation stuff, like Shazam and a couple of animated movies. Ray does political espionage and various other spy conflict stuff. And Benioff does Game of Thrones, and its objectively, or rather unobjectively, atrocious last season. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, would I say this is the worst script of the year? Maybe. I'd say it's more boring above all else. There were a whole bunch of jokes that either fell flat for me or simply made me smirk, but I never laughed once. There's a whole bunch of bad dialogue and exposition that just doesn't work and makes it feel like the film thinks you're an idiot and that you just need to be information, just feed it to me. I stupid. I need to know. Script, read to me. I can't read it to me. Mary Elizabeth Winstead complaining to Will Smith having a clone, like, you are a clone, he is a clone of you, blah 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 blah, was really annoying. Young Will Smith talking about it, as great as his acting in the scene is, was just really annoying. You created a person and you made this person to take care of this person, and this person, make that a meme please. I want to see person and a close-up of Will Smith's teary fucking eyes going bright red as a meme. The film has very little personality. It feels much like another action film with nothing special to it. It meanders a little bit. Like I said, it feels more boring than insulting, but it could have been either more interesting or just replaced with something better for those opening 20 minutes. The actors definitely stopped me from falling asleep during that stuff. The CGI, while not groundbreaking, is mostly jaw-droppingly perfect. There are plenty of beautiful scenes in dark catacombs and in the night, where everything is so perfectly shaped and done with that lovely nose of cheeks and those little lips that Will Smith has. His hair is also amazing. There's one scene where young Will Smith is in broad daylight and it looks awful. I don't know why they kept that in the movie, but I guess they had to get it done, right? That was a bad choice. Definitely should not have done that. Well, I previously mentioned the action was nothing amazing. There was one chase sequence where young Will Smith is going after the present day kind of chubby Will Smith, and it was very fun to watch. It was just so absurd and fast paced. When the chase stops, I kid you not, young Will Smith was using his Sanchez bike to literally box Will Smith. Like, I'm sure it could have been pretty funny, absurd, not necessarily bad, but not good at all if I wasn't so bored. But I kind of just sat there and just took it in. I kind of felt like a 13-year-old watching Transformers. Memories. I genuinely like the ending. It's a little silly and lighthearted, but it's cutesy enough for me to like get to the point where I don't hate it, so I guess that was good. Anyway, this movie definitely should have been way better, but I just can't say it's truly awful. It very sneakily disguises everything bad about it, but I can still recognize it for the true... I can't think of a better word. Abomination. It is. This movie is an abomination. It just should have been given way more treatment and way less hasty stitching together like a piece of paper you accidentally shoved into the shredder. You just stuck it back together, like... Oh, you get the fucking metaphor. Right? I don't know. Like, to sum it up in a single sentence, boring, uninteresting story, terrible script, great CGI, decent acting. That is the whole movie summed up. Yeah, check this one out if you want, but I really can't say I'd recommend it. And I'm giving Gemini Man a 4 out of 10. It's closer to a 3 than a 5, but it's staying as a 4. Thank you for your time. And good night, America. I will see you next time.